right. Hello, everyone. And thanks so much for joining us on our Facebook Live this morning. We're on the Pregnancy Magazine Facebook channel. And we're excited to have these conversations with you, to have, various conversations about pregnancy and postpartum and everything that you guys are going through. I don't know if you've thought about your spine recently, but obviously the spine plays a very important role in your body. And your body's doing a lot of changing when you're pregnant and then after you have your baby as well. We're going to talk a little bit about your spine today, its role, how it impacts your body, and how important it is to have a healthy spine and a pain-free spine. And that's going to lead into a conversation about prenatal yoga. Some of you guys may have tried this before. There's also postpartum yoga. So joining me today to talk about all this great stuff is Christy Rodriguez. Christy, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. I know you're the founder of Pure Nurture. You're a postpartum, prenatal and postpartum yoga instructor. But what else can you tell us?
Hi, everybody. Yes, my name's Christy, and I am the founder of Pure Nurture. I'm also the author of Pure Nurture, A Holistic Guide to a Healthy Baby, and I support pregnant women and new moms to basically manage everything that comes along with pregnancy and having a new baby. I believe that self-care is baby care, so the better care we take care of ourselves, the more we have to give. And I do that through yoga, prenatal yoga, postnatal yoga, and then also I'm a hypnobirthing birth educator. So mindfulness, meditation, self-care, and yoga, everything that kind of is all encompassed in those areas.
All right, fantastic. So again, we're going to talk a little bit about your spine today, and that's going to lead to a conversation about prenatal and postnatal yoga. If you guys are interested in joining in on this conversation, if you have any questions that you want, Christy to answer, and we'll maybe throwing some questions your way as well, go ahead and comment beneath the video on our Facebook page, underneath this video, and we'll try to incorporate some of that within the discussion. I also want to let you know that we have a free PDF, a downloadable that you can take advantage of, that's all about prenatal yoga, the various poses that you can do to really relax your mind, your spirit, everything that's happening within your body, just to kind of give you a little bit of a breather. And it also provides some tips as you go through your trimesters. So we're going to post that link in the comment section as well. I'll remind you guys at the end of our conversation with Christy today all about that, but some really good information for you today. So Christy, let's go ahead and dive into this. I want to talk about the spine. Now, we know the spine runs through, the back of our body. We know some things, sometimes we might be able to feel it here and there, but let's talk about what its role is within the body. What does the spine do in the most basic sense?
So I think, talking about the spine specifically related to pregnancy is really important, because our bodies change so much. When we're pregnant, it takes, 9 to 10 months to grow the baby. And in that time, our body is changing. And then after we have the baby, again, it takes that time to kind of come back, and our, abdominals are coming back together. And within all of that, the spine is kind of the core, the piece that is holding everything together. All of the muscles, the joints, everything's kind of interrelated. And a lot of women will have issues with sciatica, lower back pain, shoulder pain, upper back pain. And that goes with the body changing. But then also after you give birth and then you're breastfeeding or bottle feeding and carrying the baby, and, our shoulders are coming forward, we're just moving our body in different ways. And, not to mention picking up that car seat, which is a lot heavier than women make it look. It really is. So when we're talking about the spine, we really need to keep it healthy, keep it strong. And so one of the ways to do that is by keeping it mobile, keeping it flexible. And I talk about in yoga, I talk a lot about the 6 directions of the spine. So moving the spine in order to keep it flexible. And, the spine, nerves can be pinched. It can affect us physically. It can affect us also emotionally. If we're uncomfortable and in pain, it can impact the way we're feeling and affect our emotions. So really keeping it healthy is really important. So we focus on our posture, but then also moving the spine. So you move the spine. There's lots of different postures you can do to stretch out the muscles around the spine, keep it mobile, keeping the space between the vertebra. And so doing that by bending forward bends, and then also heart openers or chest openers where you're flexing the spine and lifting forward. And then there are the lateral motion of the spine, lifting from one side, stretching to the right and stretching to the left. And then finally, the last 2 positions of the spine are the twists. And so you twist your spine to the right and you twist your spine to the left. And then one aspect of twisting twisting your spine during pregnancy is you only want to twist from the thoracic spine. So basically from your chest up, you can twist, but you want to keep your belly button pointed straight ahead at all times, doing your twist in prenatal yoga or during pregnancy. Even if you're just in your office and you're working on the computer, another reason that brings our shoulders, the phone, driving, the computer, our shoulders are moving forward, and this can affect the spine and create some pain and discomfort. So even at your desk, you can sit up, keeping your belly button forward, and you can just twist right in your chair at your desk.
So as you're doing this, as you're saying this, I'm like, first of all, I'm very mindful of my spine right now. I probably have the best posture that I've ever had in my life. But you're talking about just minor things. Like I'm sitting in a chair right now, I'm at my computer, right? So I'm just kind of twisting from side to side. It can be as simple as that to keep your spine.
Yes. Literally every posture that I've talked about right now, you can do at your desk. You can do it seated in a chair. I'm doing it right now, just pulling your belly button in, hugging your belly in, leaning your chin to the chest, and then lifting up. And then you can lift from the side. I'm at my office, in my office right now, and I have a spinny chair, so it's hard to twist. The chair starts twisting with me. Which is kind of fun.
I'm imagining like people being in an office situation, suddenly you look over and someone's like, oh, and you're like, what are they doing? Because I think that a lot of times we think we have to be in a class, or I know we're going to talk about prenatal and postnatal yoga in a second, but I think it's really good to let people know, listen, there's just little things that you can do, to help keep your spine healthy. What happens if we don't do these things? You mentioned pain. Like, what would you feel? Are we talking about lower back pain? I know a lot of the women that may be watching this now, they may be experiencing that anyways because they're carrying their babies more in the front. But what are we talking about here if we don't do these small little things to improve our spine?
The muscles can become more tense and more tight. And then if you imagine your baby, and your baby is growing, and the more weight that your baby gains and begins to pull forward on the belly, the lower back starts to curve. And then what happens is all of the lower back begins to press, right? The vertebra begins to press together because it's pushing this way. And so what you want to do is always think about tucking the tailbone gently. In any yoga class, we don't really talk about tucking the tailbone too much, but in prenatal, we talk about tucking the tailbone more just to counterbalance that arch in the back that begins to happen with the belly pulling forward. So you can just feel pinching, pain, discomfort. And then when that happens, it begins to pull on other areas of the body as well. And so we're all, it's the body is all interrelated. It's all connected. And so we want to really focus on, keeping all the areas relaxed and just open. And so with the spine, really just dropping the tailbone, lifting up through the crown of the head. And one of the biggest things is always thinking about creating space in the spine, because it's the compression of the vertebra that then can create discomfort. And so really thinking about constantly lifting up and creating some space, and then relaxing the shoulders down.
Okay. All right, so let's start incorporating yoga into all this. I know that's your passion. And what many people may not realize is that you have regular yoga classes. I've been to yoga before, but there are also special classes for prenatal women, that are pregnant, as well as after you have your baby, postnatal or postpartum classes. Tell us a little bit about the difference between going to a regular yoga class, which many women may be doing already before they get pregnant, right? Why couldn't they just continue doing that? Why would you recommend going to a class that's more, focused on women who are pregnant or postpartum?
Yeah, there's a lot of different reasons. And I always share this story because I've been practicing yoga since I think 2006, 2005. And I thought, I'm going to practice yoga through both of my pregnancies. And I was so excited. And I was doing power vinyasa yoga, which is a very vigorous, more intense practice. And I saw lots of my friends go through doing vinyasa through their pregnancies up until their 37th, 38th week. And they're in there in the power yoga classes. And I thought, that's what I want to do too. And then I got pregnant and I thought, no, this isn't for me. And and one of the biggest reasons I felt that it wasn't for me is because I felt I needed more relaxation. I didn't want to be pushing myself so hard. I already felt like my body was working so hard to create a new life
Yeah.
that there was a lot of energy output in the yoga class. So I felt like I needed something a little bit more relaxing. And then the biggest aspect was is that I was in a room with a lot of people, and I was the only pregnant woman. And the teacher did not address the fact that I was pregnant, didn't really give me any attention or modifications to the fact that I was pregnant. And I just started to feel that I needed more attention. I wanted to make sure I wasn't doing anything that could hurt myself or the baby. And I just wanted to be surrounded by pregnant women. You know, I felt kind of lonely in that. So that is one of the biggest aspects. One of the biggest benefits of prenatal yoga is that sense of community. You can go into a room and then you're surrounded by other pregnant women, and you can say, hey, I'm looking for a massage therapist that does prenatal massage. Do you know of anyone? You know, it's just a nice place to be able to connect and have conversations.
Yeah.
And another huge aspect of it is that you're now in a room with a person, with a teacher that has been specifically trained to practice and to teach yoga based on the pregnant body, and what the needs are and what the contraindications are, what might be a little bit dangerous, or something you shouldn't do, or something that you really need more of. You know, I gave that simple example of the tailbone. You know, a lot of times we don't talk about pressing the tailbone down as much as we do in prenatal yoga to relieve the tension on the lower back. And so in prenatal yoga, you get a lot of attention, and it's specific to your body. It gives you a time to connect with your baby, bond with your baby. A lot of times prenatal teachers will give you that time to put your hands on your belly and just connect in and connect with your baby. And that can be a really special time for women.
It reminds me a lot as you're talking. I mean, you're doing different things, but it reminds me of breastfeeding classes afterward, where you get together, you know, if you're breastfeeding your baby, and it's that camaraderie that you're talking about. And you mentioned, hey, you can also trade, like, hey, where do you go for this? What do you do for this? So it's all about, you know, besides helping your body, which is obviously very, very important, the community side of it. And that's what I see as being like a huge benefit for a lot of moms, that, hey, this may be the only time you get out of your house for a while. Let's make it count, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which is what's so great about postnatal yoga is that, you know, especially if you've been coming to prenatal, you already have that community, and then you come back after having the baby, and there are maybe some of the same women there again. You get to meet the babies. And you get to bring the baby with you if you want. So that might really be the first time that you can get out of your house with the baby, and it's a safe environment. And then you're working on supporting your body in a safe way to, you know, come back, bring the abdominal muscles back together, strengthen the abdominal muscles, lift the pelvic floor, bring some strength back to your pelvic floor, all the specific areas that you really need to focus on in the postpartum period.
So, you know, when we talk about prenatal versus postpartum yoga, do studios offer separate classes for those, or are we talking about the same class so you can get both of those benefits?
So a lot of studios offer prenatal yoga. You can usually find at least one prenatal yoga class at most studios. Postnatal yoga is a little bit harder to find, but there are a lot of studios that offer that as well. And a lot of teachers will say to the students in prenatal yoga, come back, and you can come back and you can come back to the prenatal yoga after you give birth to your baby. And, you know, I've been teaching yoga for a long time, and I did prenatal yoga with both my pregnancies, and now I teach prenatal yoga, and I have never once seen a woman come back to a prenatal class postpartum. So I'm not sure why that is, but it is offered. It's an option, but I've never seen anyone do that. But it's looking for the studios that offer that, and you might have to drive a little bit further, but I think it's really worth it, not only just for physical and emotional health, but also just that time to be with your baby and connect with other moms to be and new moms.
Yeah. So even if your studio doesn't offer postnatal or postpartum classes, you can always go back to the prenatal, and
you can absolutely.
Okay. All right. So let's dive in and give, you know, everyone that's watching some more information about what they could experience in a prenatal, you know, pregnancy class, as well as we'll do that first, and then we'll talk about postpartum and how they might differ a little bit. Let's talk about first prenatal and what women experience emotionally. What are some of the emotional benefits that we will get out of doing prenatal yoga?
So I think first and foremost, it's the time to slow down and to come into that, I call the rest and digest mode. So a lot of times, especially I live in the DC metro area, it's pretty chaotic, it's pretty hectic around here. And so even just driving, the stress of driving, coming into the studio and having that safe space where it's a time to slow down, to connect with your breath, connect with your baby. A lot of times, pregnant women are still working. Maybe this is their second or third pregnancy. They have other kids that they're taking care of. And that prenatal yoga class gives you that hour or hour and 15 minutes to just be you with yourself and you with your baby. So slowing down, connecting, and there's meditation aspect to it, deep breathing aspect to it. And then of course the asana practice, the physical postures, which help to strengthen and also help to increase flexibility. And so a lot of women have a lot of benefit with their birth because they've done prenatal yoga. I've heard that over and over again, that they really believe that the prenatal yoga helped them during their birth.
That's amazing. Like, is it more about stamina, having the stamina to do this, or you strengthen other ways? Like, what are we talking about? How does
I think it's all of it. I think there's a little bit of stamina, and then I think it's the opening, and I think it's the breathing and the relaxation response that you can, immediately. It's like the Pavlov dogs, right? Like it's this trained response. If you start to breathe in a certain way that you've been practicing in your yoga class, the body will immediately relax. And there's a lot of research about that, the fear and the tension and how that restricts the body. And what you want to do in birth is relax and open. And so yoga prepares you for that in a really nice way.
And I've also heard of women really appreciating the idea that they can bond with their babies, the babies that are still in utero, of course, that there's that time to kind of reflect and maybe just think about being pregnant, because we're so busy in our lives, and like you said, moms may still be working, they may not be on their maternity leave yet. And sometimes it's just nice to sit and reflect, because it only lasts for 9 months or less, right? I mean, and when you look back on it, it's like boom, and it's gone. Have you seen the women that come to your studio, like, have you seen them really be able to bond with their babies in a way that's different?
Yeah, definitely. At the end of a lot of classes, what I'll do, I like to have the moms, after they do their shavasana, their final relaxation, and we sit up and with our eyes closed, we'll place one hand on our heart and one hand on our belly. Mm-hmm. And I have the moms connect in with their heart, and maybe bring something to mind that they feel grateful for, and then connect in with their baby and send their baby a loving thought. And then I like to have them ask if there's anything that the baby needs more of, or anything that the baby needs less of, and to see if anything comes to mind for them. Maybe they need to drink more water. Maybe they need to take a nap. Maybe they need more rest. Something might come up, but just to take that moment, those few seconds, to connect in with your baby and say, what do you need? What can I do to support you more? And see what comes up. And maybe nothing comes up, but maybe something comes up. And it's just a really nice way to really strengthen that bond and that connection.
Now let's talk about some of the logistics. Can you do one of these classes at any time during your pregnancy, or is there like a cutoff? Like if mom's about ready to go, are you concerned when they get to that, 39, 40 week mark or even beyond?
Not at all. Yeah, not at all. In fact, 2 stories. One, I went into my prenatal yoga class when I was pregnant with my second daughter at 10 a.m. on Thursday morning, and I had my daughter at 10 p.m. that night. So I was literally doing prenatal yoga up to my 40th week. And then the second story is that one mom actually was in yoga. She was in her 40th week, and she left because she left to go give birth to her baby. And I had another woman, she was in there and she was 41 weeks and she was still doing yoga.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can it act for the moms that are past their due date and are like, come on, let's do this thing?
Yeah.
Can it act as a way to help start the labor process?
Yeah. Some people think that, that it can. There's certain postures maybe that you could do to support that.
Okay.
Get things going.
How long are the classes typically?
1 hour. They're usually 1 hour to 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Okay. All right, so let's change our focus a little bit and focus more now on yoga postpartum.
Mhm.
And I guess the general question would be how are they different? I know we said earlier, you can go to a prenatal yoga class after you have your baby, but one of the things
Mhm.
that we were talking about before we started our Facebook Live is how cool it can be to bring your child, your newborn baby, along with you. That
Yeah.
would be one of the benefits, I would think. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, postpartum yoga is typically it's for women 6 weeks after birth for vaginal birth and 8 weeks after birth for a C-section. And as long as your doctor gives you the go ahead after those two time frames, you can come in. You can come on your own, or you can bring your baby with you. And there's kind of a range of postnatal yoga. There's a range where the mom can come in, leave baby at home with dad or a caregiver, and do the practice specifically for themselves. And then it can go all the way to mom and baby yoga, where the yoga really is about the baby, where there's singing and there's infant massage, and you're really bringing the baby into the practice, and you're helping the baby with the motor skills and moving their arms and their legs, and then anything in between. So the way I teach is that I basically leave the door open for moms to either leave their baby home with someone or come in by them or come in with the baby. And then I give 2 to 3 options for every posture that we're doing. So if the baby is asleep and really comfy in a little, kind of a little safe space on the floor on a blanket, then just the baby can stay there and keep sleeping, and the mom can focus on the practice. But if the baby is older, especially postnatal is for 6 to 8 weeks all the way up to crawling, so that is a big range. A 6-month-old is much different than a 6-week-old, and so I like to give the moms a lot of different options in each posture, and how much they want to bring their baby in, because you can do warrior 1 or warrior 2 and be lifting your baby up and down and building some strength in your arms, and the baby's giggling and having fun with that. But for a 6-week-old, you wouldn't necessarily do that. But so there's a lot of options, but we focus a lot on the mom's body and then the specific needs post-birth. So especially after a vaginal birth, is bringing, kind of coming into the pelvic floor and lifting up and strengthening all of those muscles. And then the abdominal muscles, which have opened to give space for baby, are now starting to make their way back together. So we work a lot on strengthening the core and pulling the ribs together and pulling the abdominals in and abdominal strengthening. And then same with now those are separate from prenatal. And then something that's similar to prenatal is the spine, looking at the spine, the health of the spine, and opening up the shoulders, because now we're carrying a baby, we're carrying a car seat, we're baby wearing, we're maybe breastfeeding, feeding our baby, and it's always this folded forward as the shoulders are constantly moving in this position. So opening the shoulders, lengthening through the spine, lifting the neck up versus kind of this position of curving down and in. So keeping everything strong and in alignment.
How much focus is there on the core? I'm specifically thinking about moms who've had a C-section, and that may be more of a sensitive area. Probably for all of us, because that's where we're carrying our babies, but especially for moms that have had a C-section. So how much focus is there on that area? And do most instructors make modifications if moms have had a C-section?
Yeah, there are always modifications for everything, really. I really encourage the mom to be her first teacher, her first guide. Let her body guide her in what she's doing. And so always, if there's something that's uncomfortable, doesn't feel right, to always modify or change something, always let me know so I can support the mom in getting into a position that feels better or is more safer for her and her body. But for C-sections, again, we're not in there it's not like a boot camp where we're doing all these abs and, leg lifts and all of that. It's done in a very safe and gentle way. So there's nothing really, extraneous about it. It's very safe. But for C-section, of course, you want to be more careful with the body is healing there. But we don't do anything that would really cause any difficulty with that area.
Okay. And how long can moms do a postpartum class? I mean, at what point would you recommend that they go back to a regular yoga class if that's what they were doing before, or try some other form of exercise? I mean, is there a cut? I'm sure you don't kick people out of your class, be like, you're past 6 months, but is there a time where it might be better to transition to something else?
Yeah, and I think moms know that. I think they intuitively feel when it's time for them to move on. But one of the biggest things is the baby. If their baby is 6, 7, 8 months old, and the baby wants nothing to do with yoga and only wants to crawl around the room and visit all the other babies, and then it becomes more of like the mom chasing the baby around the room, and then the mom realizes, I'm not really practicing yoga here. So then that might be the time that they realize that they're ready for another class. But I would say in general, most moms end up heading back to a yoga class beyond postpartum around 6 to 9 months. I always say it takes 9 months to grow your baby, right? And have your baby 9 to 10 months. So I always say, give yourself 9 to 10 months afterward. Don't feel like I have to get back into shape. I have to get back to my pre-baby body, and not at all. I always tell women, give yourself permission to just allow your body to come back naturally.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. So in the beginning, we were talking about the spine, and I know you have a whole ebook that focuses on those 6 directions of the spine. So can you tell us, maybe a little bit more about that, and we'll provide some more information as well. But tell us how people can access that.
Yeah, so I have this ebook, and it gives different yoga postures that relate to the 6 positions of the spine. Because when I have pregnant women come into the prenatal yoga class, back pain is probably the number 1 complaint I hear. Hip flexor issues and pain and back pain. So I created this ebook that shows the different yoga postures that are very simple. You can do anywhere. One is cat-cow, where you're on your hands and your knees, and you're doing kind of the spine movement that I showed you here, and you're pulling your belly button in and then extending the chest forward. So you do cat-cow. And I always recommend to my students that they do that in the morning after they wake up. In pregnancy, you have to have all the pillows around, like sleep becomes a whole nother thing when you're pregnant. So sometimes your back can hurt a little bit in the morning. So doing cat-cow is a really nice one. And then seated side bend, just with your legs crossed. And that's another one you can do in a chair at your desk. And then the seated twist. And that takes the spine in all 6 directions, keeping it really healthy and flexible. And you could do those every single day, and really you can do them anywhere. So I go through those different postures. There's images to show you the postures, and then there's a detailed description on how to do the posture safely, specifically for pregnancy. But the ebook that I created is for moms and for moms to be.
Okay, great. And then how can they get the ebook?
So I have it on my website. There's purenurture.com/yoga, and there's a little section there where you can download the ebook right there off the website.
Fantastic. And as I mentioned to you guys before we started our Facebook Live today, we have a PDF that we're offering from Pregnancy Magazine, and it goes through various yoga poses that you can do throughout the trimesters. We're really talking about relaxing your mind, body, and spirit with all of this, and how it could kind of grow with you through your pregnancy. And so that link is below in the comment section. So check out both those resources. And Christy, if people want to reach out to you and just connect with you in other ways, how can they find you online?
So I'm at purenurture.com. I have a blog, and I also have, I'm really active on Instagram. So the handle is pure_nurture. And I have a Facebook group where I share a lot of great articles related to pregnancy, yoga. And that is the handle for the Facebook group is, or Facebook page rather, is at Pure Nurture LLC.
Awesome. So if you want to check out more stuff from Pregnancy Magazine, you can find us at pregnancy-magazine.com. You're probably watching this on Facebook, so you already know our Facebook page. We've got a ton of great videos on YouTube. You can look us up there. We're on Twitter and Instagram as well. Most of the time it's Pregnancy Mag. So check us out that way. We've got great podcasts on our website. So if you're into podcasts, you want to listen to some great pregnancy content, or even after you have your baby, if you're breastfeeding or pumping for your baby, even if you're a parent of twins, go to our website, pregnancy-magazine.com, click on that podcast link, and you'll find a ton of great content there. Christy, thanks so much for being with us today, sharing all this great information. It was lovely to chat with you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was fun.